Hi guys, I'm calling this series of videos Riff on Shift. Series, whatever. So basically there's a chap called Daniel Shiffman, and Daniel, I mean no offense by these videos. I thought it was a good idea. You do these wonderful videos, and you come up with these great projects, and you mentioned about, you know, wanting to see other people doing it and things like that. So I figured, why not give it a try and do it inside Unity rather than doing it inside you know, any other programming language, whatever. So yes, that's where we are just now. It's his video is actually on this here. I'll just bring this up into full screen. Sorry. Full screen with webcam, there we go, which is the Menger Sponge. So basically it's creating something like this. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to build this in Unity. For those of you who want to play along, I highly recommend Daniel's videos. They are here. I'll put a copy of them, like a still image up there, and they're also in the little card thing that's going to appear there, direct to his video on Menger Sponge. But yeah, this is a kind of fun little project, so let's get started. And of course, everything happens after the fade. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to create this Menger Sponge project. I'm going to make it a 3D, and yeah, I think that's us there. So here is our world, and I am going to create a cube, and my cube is just going to be a unit cube, and the unit cube is going to exist a little bit. Why is that going into 2D mode? It's going to exist down in the world there, so I don't want anyone to see my unit cube, so I'm going to move that way down in the world. So this is where my world is going to exist, and then the first cube I create is going to be 300 in size. So I'm going to create a few folders here. So my first folder is going to be called scenes, and then I'm going to create another one called scripts. Then I don't need anything else. I mean, what I could do is I could probably make that a prefab, but let's leave it for just now. Then inside scripts, I'm going to create another script, and I'm going to call this Menger Sponge. And then I'm going to double click that. Sorry, because this is like a new segment. And it's called Riff on Shift, and I really hope he doesn't mind me doing this, but I mean, he did mention in the video, if you go and watch the video, that he wants to see people sort of you know, playing about with these ideas, and I think it's a good learning thing for people who maybe don't want to use the language that he chose to use, and maybe want to use Unity, and it's that kind of idea. But if you want the explanation of the whole thing, I recommend you go and see Daniel's video. Danny. Anyway, if you go and look at his video, he gives a great explanation of this shape. Not to mention, he is full of energy and is actually really cool to watch. Okay, so I want to have a game object, and this is going to be my prefab. And then I want to have the initial size of the object. So public float size, and the size is going to be 300 to start with. And then to start with, I'm going to say that my initial square game object equals new game object. Actually, it's not that. It's going to be game object go equals instantiate prefab, because we want to make a copy of that prefab, and we want to give it a start location as well. So our start location is going to be, location is going to be, where's that? New vector 3000, and I do want to instantiate that in world space. So that is, why is that not letting me do that? Original, transform. Oh right, quaternion, that's why. Identity. So we don't want anything else there. So if I attach this to, I'm going to create a Menger Sponge object here, and this is going to be, and I like putting controllers with underscores so that I know where I can find the code. And then I'm going to have a Menger Sponge there, and then my prefab is going to be that. And then my scale, go.transform.local scale is going to be new vector 3 size. And I can pass in, no I can't because I've changed it. What? I was sure you could do that, a uniform size, but whatever. Okay. So now I'm probably going to have to move the camera back because it's probably too big. Yeah, it's too big. So if I go to the scene, I'm probably inside the cube. Yeah, there you go. There's the cube there. So you notice that we've got culling. So when we go inside the cube, oh, it disappears. So we're going to have to move the camera out a little bit. So first things first, let's move that to 0, 0. So that goes to the origin. I know you don't have to, but I kind of like things that are at the origin. And then the main camera, I'm going to move, it's at -10 just now, so I'm going to move that to -450. -450, and I'm going to move it up in the world a little bit, and I'm going to move it a little bit to the left as well. So I want to move that 100 to the left, and then 250 up, and then I want to angle it downwards. So if I get my camera here, oops. So there is the camera angle, and I want to just tilt it downwards. So now, yeah, there we go. So it's got to be looking at 0, 0, 0. So hopefully that is, it's a bit of a jaunty angle, but whatever. Okay, so that's the first cube. So now what I want to do is I want to take that cube and split it into 9, 18, 27 subcubes just to get it started. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do that on update. I'm going to make this font a little bit bigger. Hide my Solution Explorer. And so on update, I want to say if input.get button up fire 1. And what I want to do, I want to have a list of cubes. So list game object cubes equals new list game object. And of course I need to add my generic collection there. Okay, and then I want to say cubes add go. So I want to take all the cubes that are in there and then divide them up into thirds by the width, by the height, and by the depth. So that gives me my 27 cubes. But I do that on fire up. So when the mouse button is going to be released, so fire 1 is just a name given to the mouse button by Unity. If you go into the input manager, you'll see all of the buttons there. I think it's left control as well. is the default one. So now I'm going to say that I want to list game object new cubes equals, and again, I like writing things this way, and Daniel mentions it as well in his, that he writes what he wants and then he then codes for that. So new cubes is going to be, let's call that make, or let's call it split. And then we're going to take the existing cubes and do that there. And then what we're going to do is that's going to give us our new cubes. And then for all our existing cubes, we want to remove them from the scene and we add our new cubes to the scene. Well, we've already created the new cubes because that happens in there. But we want to get rid of them because we basically want to not have them visible. Okay, so for each var game object in cubes, destroy that cube, and then I want to say cubes equals new cubes. Okay, so I call this function here, and this takes the list of cubes here and gives me a new list of cubes, and then go through the existing list of cubes. I destroy all the objects in there, and then I make that my new list of cubes. Okay, so if I go to split here and then I click on the little lightning bolt there, it says generate method. I click on that and get rid of private. So, oops. So, for each of these cubes, I want to go through a for loop and I want to add them to a list. So list game object new cubes equals new. Actually, we can probably, no, we can't call this cubes because that's up there. Yeah, let's just call it new list or sub cubes. Let's call it sub cubes, and then we do return sub cubes. Okay, so our cube needs to know something about itself though. So it needs to know the size, which is not good because we don't actually have a size here. So I'm gonna have to create another script, and I'm gonna call this one Menger box. Reload all. Yeah, sure. And then I go into here, Menger box. Okay. So this is our mono behavior. This is good enough. And then we've got public float size. Public. Well, we know the game object because we know the game object that can be attached to. We just want to know the size of the object. So I can now say, actually, I can do this even an even more Unity way. So my cube down here, this is my prefab. So I can just add Menger box to here. And now, if I go, actually, let's save the scene. Scenes, and then we'll call this Menger Sponge demo. Okay, so now if I go back to here, I can now say get that there, do that there, and then I can say go dot get component Menger box size equals size. So that's our starting size, okay, for that. And now the cubes are going to be able to know what size they are going to be. So when we start off, we're going to have a size 300. That's going to be sliced into threes. So each one of those cubes is going to be size 100, and then that's going to go to 33, and then it's going to go to 11, and so on, all the way down. Okay, I think we're getting there. So I want to say for int, let's do depth first. Doesn't, yeah, I think Dan did x, so let's do equals -1, x, oops, x is less than 2, x plus plus. For int y equals -1, y is less than 2, y plus plus. For int z equals -1, z is less than 2, z plus plus. Okay, so this is us building up the cubes. So I want to, for each one of these, I want to create an object that is a third the size of the existing cube. So my size is going to be this is going to be for each game var cube in cubes. So for each cube that we have in our cube, I want to create a new cube at some position here. So I'm going to do game object. Actually, I want to do float size equals cube dot get component Menger box size. And where am I getting this from? I'm getting this from my cube, which is over here. So if I bring this up here, you see that our prefab, so if I click on here and then I click on the prefab, you'll see that it lights up over here. So this is my prefab. It's just a game object in the scene. And right now it's just got a size of 300, sorry, a size of 0. When we create the first the first cube, we give it the size that is specified in here. So we can make this any size we want. Okay, so I want to create this at float xx equals x times size divided by 3 float yy equals y times size divided by 3. Float zz equals z times size divided by 3. So that gives us the x, y, and z values, but we also need to offset it by the position from this transform here. So our vector, vector 3 for our new cube position, so our cube pos is going to be new vector 3 xx yy zz plus the cube's transform position. So I'll move this on to the next line there. Okay, so I want to have the xx yy zz plus the cube transform position. So then I want to say game object copy equals instantiate cube, and then the position is going to be cube pos, and then quaternion dot identity. Okay, I'm running out of room here. So, and then I want to say copy dot get component Menger box dot size equals, and then whatever the size of the cube is, divided by 3. And then I want to set the scale of that as well. So I want to grab that there. And then instead of size itself, I need to do size divided by 3, size divided by 3, size divided by 3. And that's going to be copy there. And then finally, I then want to add it to my new list of subcubes. So then I want to do subcubes.add copy. Okay, so I get in a list of cubes which at the start contains one item. So we have one item in our list. So we come into this function here once we click the mouse button. I then go through each cube, which the first time we only have one cube. I then split that cube into basically thirds along the way, up and down the way, and then depth way. And then for each of that, I then get a new position based on the size of the parent cube plus the parent cube's transform. And then I create a copy of that. I create a copy of that cube, or prefab. I then set the size in there, and then I set the local scale there, and then I set up the subcubes there. Okay, that sounds good to me. Okay, so now if we go in here and we run it, you see that we now have a whole bunch of clones there. Now it didn't delete that first one. Or did it? No, it's still that one there. So these are our cubes. Hey. These are our separate cubes. You see that we now have separate cubes. So if we press it again inside the game, we now have even more cubes. See? We have lots and lots of short cubes. So we can, again, do what's in the other video, which is we've got our int sum equals x plus y plus z. And then we say if sum is greater than 1, add it. And so this means that it's going to knock out the middle ones of each of the cubes. Okay, I think we're at 22 minutes just now, as far as the sort of main part of the video is concerned. So I think that's good. So when we click on the button, no. What do we do? Is it 2? Is it greater than 0? I think it's greater than 0 actually. Because, yes, it's greater than 0 because, yeah, I think it's greater than 0. Okay, so click the mouse. Oh, this isn't working. Well, it's pretty. Oh dear, I think I might have broken Unity right enough. Oh, that worked. Yeah, it doesn't like that. That's a lot of cubes. So, well, that's pretty. I mean, it's it's nice. There's no mistake in it. It's very nice, but it's not exactly what we signed up for. So let's think about this logically. So if I am at position 0, 0, 0, then is it greater than 1? So if I'm at the middle position, oh, that's why. Math absolute. And I think it's sum greater than 1. All right. Okay. Good feeling about this. All right. We're at 23 minutes now. Oh, here we go. So there is the 1 there, and then 2 there, and 3, And then we get to 4. Obviously it starts to chug a little bit because we've got too many cubes on screen. But there we go. So if I go to scene and pull out a little bit, there we go. There is our box. So yeah, it's chugging a bit, but I'd call that a success. Yeah, so there you have it, folks. Menger Sponge. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, then give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, then give me a thumbs down. Daniel, if you're watching this, seriously, your videos are awesome, and this was meant as a homage to that. I am nowhere near the showman you are. I really enjoy your videos, and I thought this was a fun project to share with people who code in Unity. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. In fact, let's do it as oh dear. Create folder, materials, and then let's create a material, and I want this to be a kind of orangey color. Yeah, there you go. And then I want it to be quite metallic, not very smooth. That looks good. And the emission, I'm going to bring it up to, yeah, that's good enough. Okay, now I want to give that onto the cube. So I want to call this orangey. And I'm going to drag that onto my cube. So now my cube looks like that. Alright, okay. So now I've got this here, click, click, click. Awesome. And then if I zoom out a little bit there, I think that gives us our screen grab. Hey!